我有15羽翼在手，也不是那么好惹的。烽火灭天下第3重，灭神。
Hello guys, welcome to the Alrasta channel to discuss and explain the exciting storyline of your favorite series, SwallowedStar episode 237. In the previous episode, after the boat of Mausoleum surfaced, many factions like the Divine Eye Clan, Skeleton Race, and Purple Moon Holy Land arrived on the scene. Luofeng, allied with Lucheng Master, managed to break into the ship first despite being ganged up on by the other factions. Inside the ship's labyrinth full of deadly traps, they reached the core room but failed to find its control core. Suddenly, a projection of a man named Duandong River Wu appeared. He offered his precious inheritance through a series of life and death trials. After the first trial, 4 Universe Master level candidates were chosen and forced to enter a dark hallway, where they were surprisingly attacked by a ferocious beast that killed one of the candidates. With only 3 candidates left passing the second trial, it was finally Luofeng's turn to be called in to step forward and face the deadly test alone. So, what happens next? Alright, without further ado, let's get right into the story. High tension began to brew in the vastness of the Universe Ocean after the first trial phase for Duandong River Wu's legacy inheritance. The Skeleton Clan, also known as the High Race, had to swallow a bitter pill of harsh rejection and a very painful elimination in that first test. This disappointment quickly turned into boiling anger when they realized that their fierce rivals, the Divine Eye Clan, who hailed from the same reincarnation era, actually managed to advance to the next stage without a hitch. This feeling of being incredibly unfairly discriminated against sparked very dark and destructive intentions in the minds of the clan's higher-ups. Instead of mourning their elimination, the Skeleton Clan's higher-ups hatched a cunning scheme. Their logic was very simple yet deadly. If their race couldn't get that legendary inheritance, then no other faction should be able to get it peacefully either. They made a unanimous decision to leak the massive secret regarding the location and existence of Duandong River Wu's inheritance to every corner of the Universe Ocean without exception. The main goal of spreading this information on such a massive scale was to lure in all the strongest parties and individuals from across the galaxy. The Skeleton Clan hoped that the arrival of thousands of powerful warriors would create uncontrollable chaos inside the boat of Mausoleum, where the inheritance was located. In the massive chaos and bloodshed that would surely ensue, the Skeleton Clan believed they could sneak in and stir up trouble to snatch back the opportunity they had previously lost. While this grand conspiracy was spreading across the Universe Ocean, the situation inside the boat of Mausoleum was just as tense. Luofeng, who had successfully made it to the next stage, was now faced with a dark hallway hiding a deadly threat. Right in front of him appeared an ancient humanoid beast with a lion's head named Qui Luo, an entity whose appearance and aura radiated pure terror to anyone who laid eyes on it. The rules of this trial sounded simple but were actually incredibly brutal. The candidates weren't required to kill the monster. They just had to survive its rampage for a set time limit. However, there was an absolute condition that made the difficulty of this test skyrocket. A strict ban on taking cover or hiding inside any palace-type defensive treasures, forcing them to face the monster head-on using only their own physical strength and combat strategies. Realizing the deadly threat right before his eyes, Luofeng wasted no time and immediately activated his strongest defense. He awakened the third form of the Crazy Devil Extermination Godly Armor, a protective armor capable of emitting incredible destructive energy. The first clash was unavoidable, and Luofeng's sky-tearing claw attack proved to be so devastating that it managed to send the monster, which was feared by Universe Masters, flying far away on the very first strike. During the second clash, Luofeng and the Qui Luo monster engaged in a fist fight, which ended up breaking the bones in the monster's arm. Seeing the opening, Luofeng attacked using the Extermination God technique to unleash a barrage of strikes, starting by throwing a sword, throwing a staff, and then grabbing that staff to turn it into a massive sword ready to cleave the monster's body in half. But suddenly, the monster's physical strength grew even stronger, allowing it to withstand the massive sword attack until the weapon shattered into pieces. The truth was, the Qui Luo monster was no ordinary creature that could be defeated easily. The fundamental nature of this being was its ability to instantly adapt and evolve as the battle dragged on. The monster initially only possessed strength on par with a Universe Venerable warrior, but now it was starting to show an absurd spike in power. In a matter of seconds, the monster's aura exploded, and its power skyrocketed to reach the second tier of a Universe Master. The tension peaked when the next series of attacks proved that the monster hadn't stopped evolving. While trading blows with Luofeng, the monster's power kept increasing, jumping to a Tier 3 Universe Master, and shortly after rising to Tier 4 along with a boost in both its speed and strength. Shockingly, all of Luofeng's attacks were now completely useless against it. That insane evolution kept going until the Qui Luo monster finally reached the 5th tier, an incredibly destructive level of power. As Luofeng was bombarded with a flurry of punches, he realized with utter horror that the speed of this monster's power growth was completely beyond reason. It was even predicted to soon reach the power of a Tier 6 Universe Master. Luofeng felt that this threat was vastly more terrifying than having to face Tier 5 Universe Masters like the 5 Chaos Master. The situation turned highly critical when a direct hit from the monster managed to pierce his defenses, instantly draining 8% of Luofeng's total divine power in the blink of an eye. Losing that much energy in such a short amount of time was an absolute danger sign. If this battle continued, total annihilation would only be a matter of time. Cleaved into a corner, the MC decided to switch up his defensive tactics into a deadly counterattack. He quickly whipped out his trusty Shu Wu wings, a treasure he hadn't used in combat for a long time. With the wings spread wide and radiating a golden domain from the Golden Country technique, Luofeng managed to slow down his opponent's movements and launch a counter-offensive by unleashing slashing attacks from his Shi Wu wings. With this combo attack, Luofeng was going to prove that he wasn't just some prey to be bullied around. However, even though the monster's movements were suppressed by Luofeng's golden domain, the defense and raw power of the Qui Luo monster were still a slight cut above Luofeng's. When they traded blows once again, Luofeng was sent flying downwards, crashing hard enough to shatter the floor layer. Refusing to just give up, Luofeng kept trying to attack the monster with his powerful kicks. But the monster easily blocked them, and it even managed to land a rapid barrage of punches with unbelievable speed. Not long after, Luofeng realized that the monster's combat power had touched the threshold of the true god level. This was evident when the monster unleashed another heavy punch that sent Luofeng's body flying, crashing hard against the walls of the hallway. Just when the situation felt almost impossible to win, given the severe internal injuries Luofeng was currently suffering, the monster suddenly stopped attacking and instead sat down quietly in front of him. Surprisingly, an automated announcement echoed throughout the room, declaring that Luofeng had successfully passed the time trial and was permitted to move forward to the next test. A massive wave of relief washed over his body as Luofeng realized how lucky he was that Duandong River Wu only required him to survive, rather than actually defeat this anomalous monster whose power kept growing limitlessly. Luofeng's success in surviving solo against the monster indirectly revealed a dark truth about the 4 candidates before him, who were now reduced to just 3. It was revealed that the plant-type entity known as Liu Master, who had taken the test earlier, had met a tragic end. The fact that an entity with such extraordinary vitality like a plant creature could die was solid proof of just how terrifying and deadly the Qui Luo monster's trial really was. Duandong River Wu then appeared to give the next set of instructions. He informed the 4 remaining candidates that their current spot was just the midpoint of the long trial corridor. They were required to keep walking down the ancient hallway until they reached the next main hall, the place where they would finally get to truly touch the core of that mysterious inheritance. Hearing that, Luofeng confidently kicked off the trek down the long hallway without hesitation, closely followed by the other candidates behind him. Halfway to the next hall, Luofeng suddenly received an emergency communication from the higher-ups of the human race, including his master and the huge axe creator. Based on the news circulating in the Universe Ocean recently, they wanted to verify the information deliberately spread by the Skeleton Clan. During the chat, his master wanted to confirm Luofeng's involvement at the inheritance site, and let him know that the news had spread out of control across the Universe Ocean. Because the value of Duandong River's inheritance was no joke, the huge axe creator promised to organize their troop movements to provide backup, asking Luofeng to focus entirely on claiming the inheritance without worrying about anything else. However, A stern warning was also given to Luofeng. Since the news from the Skeleton Clan had leaked, it was bound to turn into a fierce storm over the inheritance that would definitely heat up. And Luofeng was urged to double his guard because the situation was about to get far more deadly than before. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the Universe Ocean, a rare phenomenon occurred within the territory of the East Emperor Holy Land faction. The giant ancestor tree located there suddenly radiated a blinding, five-colored light bursting with life energy. The appearance of this light signaled the arrival of the great ancestor himself, the East Emperor Holy Land, an entity that very rarely showed himself. He had been out of sight for so long that there were even faction members who had lived for 826,000 years since birth and had never once seen his true form until this very moment. The East Emperor's presence magically brought an instant miracle to his followers. The life light emitted automatically restored the divine power of those who were previously injured, repairing all damages at an astonishing speed. This precious moment successfully cemented the loyalty and fired up the spirit of the faction's warriors to serve him even further. Over at the Divine Eye Clan's headquarters, the intel regarding Duandong River Wu's inheritance inside the restricted area of the Universe Boat had become the hottest topic, and had already reached the ears of the clan's top brass. Their supreme leader, the first True Master, personally summoned the other 7 high-ranking members to rally all their clan members to secure the legacy. For this inheritance scramble, it was agreed that the second True Master and 7th True Master would lead this dangerous mission, deploying several warriors including 20 Universe Masters, 200 Universe Venerables, and 2,000 Immortals. For those whose lifespans were nearing the finish line, this inheritance wasn't just treasure. It was their one and only lifeline to extend their lives and elevate their clan's status. Elsewhere, this movement triggered a chain reaction within the Purple Moon Holy Land Universe faction, where the Purple Moon ancestor handed down a similar set of instructions. The clan quickly deployed flying palaces wielded by 13 Universe Masters, carrying 150 Universe Venerables and 1,500 Immortal Warriors inside, heading at full speed toward the Universe Boat using teleportation portals. The exact same thing happened in the East Emperor Holy Land, where massive-scale military orders were issued without hesitation. A high commander known as the Northern True Star Master, or Beizhen, was ordered to immediately assemble an elite strike force willing to seize Duandong River Wu's inheritance, consisting of 20 Universe Masters, 200 Universe Venerables, and 2,000 Immortals. The ruler's command was absolute. This massive army had to rush straight to the boat of Mausoleum at max speed, because the East Emperor Holy Land had decided that Duandong River Wu's inheritance had to fall into their hands at any cost. Cutting back to the boat of Mausoleum, the 2 candidates from the Divine Eye Clan could be seen glaring at Luofeng with pure hatred. Even though Luofeng was suspected of catching Duandong River Wu's attention, he was well aware of his disadvantage when it came to numbers. He knew for a fact that the human race didn't have the troop resources of the massive factions currently making their way to his location. Realizing he could never win a numbers game, he steeled his resolve, knowing that the only way to come out on top was to rely entirely on his own potential, smarts, and mental toughness in the true trials ahead. Luofeng's footsteps finally led him into a giant hall where Duandong River Wu was already waiting to welcome him. Inside the room, Duandong River Wu presented a cosmic holographic view that was both breathtakingly beautiful and incredibly confusing. There were thousands of 3-dimensional constellation projections floating in the air, glowing with a bluish light that held the mysteries of the universe. One by one, Duandong River Wu then asked the candidates to explain the structure of the massive puzzle. It was explained that on the left side of the hall, there were exactly 123 constellation projections that were completely flawless. Meanwhile, on the right side, there was a much more dominating sight, a whopping 10,080 constellation projections, but all of them were flawed or incomplete. Each projection was basically a highly complex cosmic chessboard. To give an example of the game, the 123 constellation projections at the very front of the right side looked imperfect, but they shared some nearly identical structures with the 123 projections on the left, which served as the foundational key to solving the 1,080 incomplete puzzles on the right. Satisfied with the candidates' answers, Duandong River Wu scaled up the size of his projection, slowly extending his finger and slicing through the hall's floor with it. Right after that, Duandong River Wu showed them a close-up view of the game board. Duandong River Wu explained that this game was adapted from the most popular entertainment game in his hometown, specially designed to sharpen and train one's comprehension of the laws. This legendary game, which relied heavily on god-tier deduction skills, was called the Rhinoceros Emperor game. The candidates were tasked with finding the patterns and core rules from the 123 perfect projections on the left, which happened to directly correlate with the first 123 incomplete projections on the right. The rules of the game were highly systematic and required absolute concentration. Once they managed to crack the basic logic from the first set of projections, the candidates had to start solving the remaining flawed puzzles, going sequentially from the 124th projection onwards. To lock in their answers, 4 giant crystal pillars were provided, each allocated to one candidate, where they had to use their divine power to draw the puzzle-solving patterns into the crystal pillar. However, hidden behind the beauty of the puzzle was an execution threat that couldn't be bargained with. The inheritance system stated that if a candidate could complete up to 6,000 patterns within the time limit, they would instantly be crowned the rightful heir of the Duandong River Wu bloodline. On the flip side, this passing grade came with a very deadly bottom line. The established rules left absolutely no room for failure. For candidates at the Universe Master Power level, the failure tolerance was practically zero. If they failed to solve at least 1,500 game patterns within the set time limit, they would be deemed unqualified for the minimum air standards. And the punishment for those who failed to hit that baseline wasn't simply being kicked out. It was total existence wipeout, aka absolute death right there inside the room. Then what happened next? Alright, thanks for watching until the very end, and don't forget to keep supporting this channel by leaving a comment, dropping a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, bye.